Hi guys, we made it. It's another Friday. How are you? Thank you so much for joining Women I Want You to Meet. It's been such a success and exceeded my expectations of the guests that we got and the vulnerabilities that we've shared and you guys that have joined us. It's been really amazing. Hi Kori, let's bring her right on. Today we're going to have the beautiful Kori.
Hi.
And there she is. Hello, my love.
Hi there.
How are you? It
I'm
worked.
good. I'm good. Getting
Good.
situated. I know. So far, so good.
So far, so good. You were so on time. I didn't really get to tell everybody about you, and I want to take a minute just to kind of give them just a brief background of who you are and how I met you and why. I met Kori at a fundraiser, and she was brave enough to get up and speak and kind of shared some of her journals, which eventually are turning into her book, what we're going to talk about in a second. And I just sat there, and it was this mixture of tears and happiness about how brave you were to share your stories about drug addiction and eating disorders, losing your husband, having 4 little girls. It was such a touching story, Kori. Down, you shared it with the world. You wrote this book, and you're offering a path to healing that I think is very unique and appreciated. So
Thank you.
Let's start.
Okay.
Thank you. Tell me about the book and how, I believe it's called Paddle Out.
Yes, it's called Paddle Out. And it's more about, like, although I did out for my husband, it was his celebration of life, beautiful, right here on 26th Street, Manhattan Beach. But the name is more about my own kind of journey to finding not only but just like a brighter future. Something that happened so unexpected and was not in my plan at all. So that's where my own journey basically out and see what's out there in the ocean.
Wow. You cut out a little bit, so
yeah,
I didn't catch everything about that. So what happened? Let's start from the beginning.
So, okay, from the beginning. Okay, that's a loaded question here.
Okay.
I think, I'll just start with, in a nutshell, my childhood was a little bit chaotic, and, my parents divorced very, very early, and kind of I think as a child, when things happen that young, you kind of get a little bit confused on where, or at least I did, where I was, and it kind of led to a lot of insecurities and I was really confused growing up. And so that confusion kind of stayed with me the entire, all my childhood years and things. And so once I got to high school, I think even more so all these, insecurities and things came in, which led to an eating disorder that started very young. And I feel like, when you are a little lost and you have, I guess I say, demons inside you, everybody finds a way to like soothe in some sort of way. And until these things are worked through, they basically will keep on showing their head and until something kind of explodes. So
Let me ask you. I've learned with my guests that I have to raise my hand because we both talk at the same time. The audio, blah, 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 and we go like, look, Picasso. I think you're right. As a child of divorce, also navigating that in the early 70s, where not a lot of parents were getting divorced, it really did kind of shape who you are and how you approach relationships. And there's kind of a shame associated with it. I don't know if that's as strong now with kids. And then to your other point, it's hard enough to go through high school nowadays, and then you add all of those insecurities on top of it, And it is just kind of this self-perpetuating voice in your head that kind of keeps you down. So,
exactly. Yeah. And it can, you know, it just gets louder and louder until, until you figure out a way to either quiet it or, you know,
yeah, I tell my kids, it's like, imagine a record. I know we have to go way back, but a record. And then trauma is a groove in that record. And you're going around, but it hits that groove, that pain, that trauma, and it has to self-soothe to get over that hump. And whether that's alcohol or addiction or eating disorder or hoarding or pulling your hair out, that's the body smart. It wants to heal. So it kind of has to keep doing that. And you just kind of get stuck on that sometimes.
Exactly.
It's so scary. Okay. Sorry. Thank you.
No. That's all right. That's all right. I mean, you don't realize it until you become more aware of it. Otherwise, you know, if you're not, you're just going to keep on going and going and going. And
exactly.
That's what I did for a long time.
Yeah.
And I did, you know, right after high school, I'm from Ohio, so I moved out to California. I wanted to, you know, be a professional dancer and everything. So that was, the fact that that happened was absolutely amazing. I got to travel the world and see some amazing places, but that didn't really quiet what was going on in my head either. And that kind of led to, you know, heavy drinking and then getting into drugs and the eating disorder. Now it was just like not one thing to soothe, but a bunch of things to soothe. So, and I feel like, you know, even as a child, though, I always had in my mind what I wanted for, you know, as when I got older, for a husband, for, you know, a family, like how I would do it and who I would marry. And it was just like, just something kind of more subconscious, but it was always in my mind. And when I met my soon to be husband in 97, his name was Clint. It was like anything that I carried for all these years just went away. And I kind of, his confidence became my confidence. I kind of gelled into him and became a lot more secure with him. And it was great because I was just like, all that stuff is gone now. It's wonderful. And I had this amazing husband, and we started a family, and everything was great. I'm not sure if you want to like take a little hand up there for a second, or if I should keep going.
Keep going, man.
Okay. So, you know, here we had these 4 beautiful daughters and made our way to Manhattan Beach. It was right around 2009, 2010. And we were here shortly after. He opened up a restaurant in North Manhattan called Four Daughters Kitchen, which I was like, so what are you going to call it? And he's like, well, Four Daughters Kitchen, of course. I'm like, all right, that's a good name. Okay. So, you know, life was good. Everything was going. And we were going on a family vacation back to South Carolina that we hadn't seen people in our family in like 6 years. So everybody was coming in from everywhere to Isle of Palm, South Carolina. This was August 8th, 2014. And cousins and, you know, aunts, uncles, we had a great week. And it was our last night of the vacation. And I was kind of running around, packing stuff, getting everything together like I always do, trying to keep everything organized. And my husband had asked me to come sit on his lap for a minute. And luckily I listened. At first I was like, oh, I got to get this done, you know, crazy. And then he said, hey, just come sit on my lap for a minute. So I'm like, okay. So I sat on his lap and we were talking. My sister was in the room. My brother was in the room, just laughing. And I was laying on his lap. His arm was holding my head. And he's like, are you comfortable? And I thought it was sweet. I'm like, yeah, I'm comfortable. And I think for about 1 minute later, I felt his chest just take this huge like inhale. And then this exhale, it all just like concaved in. And his arm that was holding me fell down to the side. And my husband was hilarious. He was always joking about things and a comedian. And so I thought he was messing with me originally. And I turned around and looked at him. And then I looked at my brother, and it was obvious that there was something more going on. So he ended up passing of a massive heart attack. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was instant. So all of a sudden, everything was like, wait a minute, what just happened here? That does not set in for quite a while.
No, was he sick? Did he have heart issues?
No, again, looking back, both his parents in their 70s, had clogged arteries and things like that. And we always said when we were 40, we were going to go do a whole like heart scan and do the whole physical. And 40 came and went. He was actually 44 when this happened. But, you don't think, it's not going to happen to us. That's not, and he was, looking back now, yes, I think he did have exercise-induced asthma. So he slowed down a bit over the years, but we didn't realize, it was his heart. It wasn't his lungs. So I've learned a lot over the past, few years about that.
God, but so sorry.
Thank you.
What gift that you were with him at that moment?
Oh my goodness. That's like the silver lining. I was so blessed, and I've had to hear my daughter's stories, and it just breaks my heart because their last moment, might have been something different and something that they beat themselves up about because, my one daughter, he asked her to go to lunch, but she's playing with her cousins. She doesn't want to go to lunch with dad right now. And, that was something that she had to fight with for a long time. And it made me realize like, oh my God, if I wasn't sitting on his lap, if I would have gone about my business, and that would have been horrible. So yeah, I think about it now, and I'm so thankful that I got to be there with him. I'm so sorry. And so we just, right away, it was just like life is normal. We come back to Manhattan Beach, and it's like, all right, we got to sign up for soccer. We got to, everything was just like, life doesn't stop.
No.
I'm looking around going, wait, I expected it to stop, and it doesn't. Everybody's just kind of doing their thing and laughing and enjoying it, and I didn't understand that. And that's when the autopilot, I think, your body, it's amazing how our bodies just can like come up and just take over, because I would say probably for 6 months to a year, it was just kind of going through the motions. And I had the restaurant, which I had nothing to do with running that restaurant. And it's funny because the night before he passed away, he's always joking with me because he always wanted me to work there. And I was at home with the girls, and I've always hated the restaurant business. More power to anybody who can run a restaurant. I think it's the hardest job on the planet.
Yeah.
So the night before, he's like, yeah, I'm waiting for this one to get on board. And I like sat up straight, and I'm like, absolutely not. I want nothing to do with it. And then the next day I'm like, oh my God, I got to run this restaurant.
Yeah. This is okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have any knowledge of how to do it?
No.
Jesus
nothing.
Christ. I would have been like, oh, we're just closing the doors. Like,
I know. Luckily, I had people who had been working there for a while, and, this whole community, everybody just was trying to do whatever they could do. I think everybody felt awful. Everybody knew. And it was such an outpouring of love from everyone that I felt. And, I think that's why I do love it here, because I feel like there is so much that people do and they give. But I had the restaurant for about 3 more years. So during those 3 years, it was crazy. It was nonstop, like, stress. Like, if I think about it now, I think about those 3 years, I'm like, I am so glad I didn't know what was ahead of me, because I think that would have taken me down. And so not only did I miss, what was really going on with the girls. They were 6, 8, 10, and 12. So I wasn't, I mentioned in my book, I'm like, they lost their mother this same day they lost their father, because I was changed instantly. And they're so young and watching me and not knowing what's going on with me either. So it was a tough 3 years. And
you have to survive, and you have to maybe go on autopilot.
Yeah. I'm very happy for that, actually. I'm very happy for that. But I think once I finally realized that I could not take on this restaurant, I had to be back at home with the girls and just work on that foundation, because we were slipping. And then it was about a year after that, during that time, that I kept on getting these signs to write, you know, everywhere. It's like either people would say it or something would pop up. And I'm very like into just noticing things. Like if we're present in our life and if we look around, it's amazing what's shown to us. If we're present, if we're on autopilot, then that's not going to happen. So after literally ignoring the signs to write for a couple of years, because I just thought that sounds painful. Why? I don't want to think. I don't want to sit down and think about anything. But finally, one day I did, and I could not believe what happened when I sat down and started writing more from my heart instead of what my mind was thinking, and it just came so easily. And I literally, this became a joke because eventually I did, you know, after I did this for about a year, I wrote for about an hour and a half a day. Once I started thinking, I would stop writing. It just, then it didn't feel authentic. And so I wrote everything in notes on my phone. And this became a joke. I finally had to find an editor, and he's like, okay, will you send me the PDF? And I'm like, actually, everything's in notes. And I thought he was going to lose his mind. He's like, what? But I wasn't ever planning on writing a book. I mean, I've never written as much as a paper in my life. I did not go to college. I don't know how to do that. And it's amazing what happens when we just step out of our own way and let go of the stranglehold that we have on what we think this life should be for us, or what, you know, I thought myself. And what came next in that year of just letting go and just letting the truth come out and processing these things that were so deep. I mean, and there were many times I'm sitting here going, oh God, am I really going to write this? Am I really going to write this? I mean, just embarrassing for me. And also just to honestly see, you know, what I'm writing and processing it was painful. It was like, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe it. But what happened getting all that out? And that's why I'm like, I have to do something bigger with this. It's bigger than me. And I'm just following what, you know, whatever's telling me to do this. And I think that became kind of the premise behind the book is, if I hate saying it's just me, it's so annoying. So, but I have no other way to put it. But if sharing my story and how good it felt to get this stuff out, because who really cares in the large scheme of things, what you've done in your past, or what, you know, the things that we decide to be honest about, then if it could help somebody see that who might be struggling themselves, then hands down, that's it right there.
Oh, girl, preach. We had Crystal Laughlin on a couple of days ago, and she kind of echoed what you said, which was, this was a calling. This drumbeat got louder and louder. And, you know, when I would zone out and drive to work, this is what she would ruminate in her head. And it sounds like a similar process for you. Like, Kori, you're going to have to write this thing because I'm going to keep back.
And the thing is, I wouldn't believe it had I not gone through that. I wouldn't believe it. But there is so much truth to that. And but you just have to be present and aware in order to know.
Yeah.
And that sounds so simple, but it's not really.
And you know what, for the pros and cons of this pandemic, I think the one thing it has done, it has unplugged us all and been like, shh.
Yes, exactly.
Because I'm sure with 4 girls, you are like drama to volleyball to this to that to piano. Like,
yes.
You're just trying to keep all the plates in the air, and for somebody to be like, it's okay to let the plates drop, let them drop, and breathe. You know, I think the kids. How old is your oldest now, Simone?
So now she's just turned 18.
18, and just that. I feel bad for them because I know the currency of being with your friends is so strong in high school, right. And for them to not have that, like my empathy and sympathy goes so deep for these kids, especially the 18-year-olds that are trying to graduate and missing all those, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's a different chat. But that vulnerability, the cusp of standing on and be like, do I really want to tell the story about my addiction and share my deep dark, like, how did you kind of crest over that and go, okay, we're going in, like, we're going to tell the dirty stuff?
Well,
I don't know if I could.
Well, again, I had this, I didn't know what to do with it. I had this whole manuscript that I printed out from notes, and it was, you know, about this thick. And and it was funny because a friend of mine who would always come to my yoga class, and he's a writer. I found out he was a writer. I didn't really know. I just knew him from yoga. And I pulled him aside once. I'm like, listen, I don't know what I'm doing. I have this manuscript, I guess is what you call it. And I feel like I'm supposed to be doing something, but I know nothing about the next process. And so he took it and he read it. And he's like, Kori, he's like, this is really good. He goes, but you need an editor. You really need an editor. So again, this amazing man, Jim Martica is his name, got dropped in my lap. And I reached out to him and I said, okay, my name is Kori Clausen. I started writing a year ago. I don't know what this is, but maybe you can guide me. And he's like, sure, okay, why don't you just send me, just like a couple pages of it, and I'll read it. And I don't think he took it very serious. And then when he got back to me, he was like, I thought you were messing with me. You're not a writer or whatever. And he's like, listen, right now, at this very moment, if you want me to work with you, you need to know you're a writer.
Aww.
I will not, it was like, he was adamant about it. He's like, Kori, because this is really, really good. He's like, yes, I can help you, the rest of the way. I can help pull, more things out of you. And so we went through it from the beginning to end. We took a whole nother year. And, he would say, listen, I have to ask you some things and I hate to ask this. And, we kind of got through that together, and he kind of pulled out when he needed to pull out. And I just, I would talk to him like, oh my gosh, it was really, really hard. It was hard to see. It was hard to believe. I was angry at myself that I actually allowed the things that I allowed. But in the end, it just was, it's amazing what happens when you let this stuff go. It's just, I cannot express it enough how worth it was. And even now, I think it was March 31st, the book went live on Amazon, and I woke up like, I don't know how many times that night, woke up anxiety, like, oh my God, did I really just put all that out there? And I took a deep breath and, I'm just like, yeah, I did. So it's too late. You're gonna
all out there. I want to
all out there.
You're going to be one of my guinea pigs here because I want to share the cover of the book.
Yes.
Where did it go? It's not on my camera roll, darn it. You sent it to me earlier. I apologize, Kori. I thought I had it.
I can always hold it up.
Hold it up. There it is. Paddle out. It's such a beautiful cover. That was the one thing I noticed about it was how just that image is gorgeous. The font is beautiful. Like I just was like, damn, that's good.
See, again, this was so crazy. I found a woman in Munich, Germany to do, I knew nothing about like how you put a book together, but I found out there's people who actually typeset books, and it's like it's an art form. And I found this website and I've reached out to her, and the people that fell in my lap, again, like you said before, this was out of my power or anything. This kind of was just happening, and I just went along for the ride. And the same thing that the woman who designed the cover, she sent me a bunch of designs. She goes, I looked at your website, and I get a good feel for you after talking to you. And she sent me these covers, and I looked at that and I'm like, that's it. That's it.
It's just, for everyone that's listening, I think Kori's story and Crystal's story, one thing is super clear. When the universe needs you to write this and build this nonprofit or whatever it is, it will align people in your path to get
exactly right.
You are answering a call that someone needs, and they return it with the right people at the right time with the right skill set. So I think that's even a more testament to the fact that you needed to write this book and get this out there.
Yeah.
Have people reached out and been like, oh my God, thank you? Or how's the response?
Yes, I've gotten some amazing, like, again, to hear, I've gotten messages on Facebook, I've gotten text, emails, what this has done. And now, mind you, I thought, okay, my audience will probably be, women, probably girls. I'm getting replies from men, older men in their 60s and their 40s and their 30s. Because everybody has a story. Everybody has something. And so to hear all these replies from such a massive different, genre, I don't know the word
Not
that
the,
I'm for, but it just,
yeah.
I was so happy. Like, okay, this is good. This is good. And so far, everything's been good. I don't expect it always to be good. I'm sure it's not going to be, everyone's cup of tea, but I don't know. It is what it is.
I think you're a bit of an inspiration probably for a lot of people that are sitting on their hands that have these books or scripts or stories in there that you're like, if I can do it with my thumbs on notes, you can do that. And I also think, like, how did you keep yourself for that hour a day? That's a very good structured time that you have.
And it's funny because I'd get the kids off to school, and my brain works very well in the morning. And this sounds so bizarre, but I would take a spin class every morning at 6 a.m. at Fit On here. And like, let's say the day before I hit that place where I start thinking, I'm like, put the pen down. 6 a.m. the next morning while I'm spinning, I swear they said there's something about left side of the brain, right side of the brain, and it would come to me. I'd be like, oh, that's it. I'd go home it was right around 10 a.m. every day. Kids are in school, calm down, house, finish cleaning and all that kind of stuff. Sit down, 10 to 11:30. That is what happened. And every day, that's what it was.
So explain to me, when you say I started thinking, that you would stop writing. What's the different voice between the thinking voice and the
yeah. Okay. It's like, it didn't take any effort. So the minute, I felt it in my soul almost, and it just came. And, I think one thing my publisher said people might comment on is a little bit of the language and things like that. But I'm like, I can't take that back because I wrote it the way I felt it. And there was a lot of anger. And so the language was from the anger that I was feeling when it happened. And so that's what I did. I'm sorry if it upsets people, but that's what it was. But yeah, so it came so easily and authentic. Like I said, kind of just from deep within. And the minute, like, I would have to think like, oh, what should I, wait, what I do not, or just anything that I'm like, nope, it doesn't feel easy anymore. The minute it got hard to write, then that was it. It just, and I could even afterwards, when I went back a million times to go through it, to check everything, if there was a sentence that didn't quite feel right, I would change it. I'm like, there's something about that. It just kind of was like triggered something right away. And I'm like, I got to change it. It's not right.
And I also think readers and listeners are smart. They can smell inauthenticity. And if you're going, that's not authentic, that doesn't feel right, they're going to sense it too. So you're protecting your reader a little bit.
Right. Exactly. I've even had people say, like, it was like I was having a conversation with them, like when they were reading the book, like I was telling them the story, which, when I hear these things, it's still so bizarre because the fact, like, I still can't believe that I've got a book out there and I can call myself an author.
Like, I'm an author?
I know.
What?
Right. Exactly.
So I believe in spirits and people touching you. Do you feel like did you feel that your husband was with you on this journey, helping guide this, or is that just like, oh, Whitney, you're a freak show?
No, 100%. 100%. Yeah. I even have a couple stories in the book, and a lot of it is kind of like the things that I do not like to say, and I say this in the book, I do not like to say coincidence, bizarre, weird, or whatever, because I truly believe it's not chaos out there. Everything is set up just the way it's supposed to be set up. And he has helped me so much since his passing. It would have been hard to say this a few years ago, but I am a different person now, because all those things, all those insecurities, everything that I built up in him when he passed was like, everything just came back with a vengeance. And so this is going to sound, I don't know, I'm just going to say it, but there was a friend of mine who is kind of intuitive, and she would reach out to me a lot during the first couple of years, because she would just say, okay, he wants me to tell you this, or, you know, something like that. Now, people choose to believe this or they don't, but it made me feel good, so I chose to believe it.
Yeah.
And she originally said to me, he says he can help you more from where he is now. Now, originally when I heard that, I was like, what?
I would have been like,
help me if he's not here. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Not helping. 4 kids.
Yeah.
Not helping.
Yes, I had a lot of anger with that for a while. But I am a different person now, and I have that confidence that I always wanted, that I never had before. It's like he's almost like infused himself into me. I don't like this right here. I would have been sick all day knowing I've got to like speak on this live Instagram. And this was all him. He loved this stuff. I was just like his little shadow. So he's helped me immensely.
Well, when did I meet you? A year and a half ago?
Gosh, it would have been May 2 years ago.
And
this May would be 2 years.
If you permit me to say this, your confidence now from where you were 2 years ago is quite striking. I saw a very scared, shy, very skinny woman stand up there with her journal, with her hand shaking. And who you are today is quite a different Kori. And
wow.
I love both of them. But
thank you for saying that, because I mean, I was such a mess building up to that evening. I mean, it was horrible. And you're right. I was shaking. I'm like, I got to get this over with. I got this. I can't even look at them out there. I'm going to just look at this book and read it from here. Yeah. So thanks for saying that. It's good to hear.
It was well, that night was so important to me because I met you, and then I met Krista Lynette from Dame Capo Heart, who's become one of my very dearest friends.
Yes.
And, you know, watching her journey, she was my very first guest, and her journey with Dane and navigating, you know, an adult child with autism with this very miracle gift of art.
Yes.
I've been watching her journey, and it's been, I say women fucking kick ass. Like, we are the bomb.
Right? Exactly.
We're getting it done. Okay, so I remember what I was going to say before. Is like, I've listened to Brene Brown speak twice. I've had the privilege of hearing her live twice. And the one thing that Brene has, and I think your book also has, is that you feel like she's speaking to you. And this book that you've written is speaking directly to this person, that conversational ability to be like, all the other shit aside, I'm talking to you. And it sounds like you are gifted in the ability to connect with your readers that way. That's amazing.
Who'd have thunk? That's all I have to say. I had no idea. So that's such a compliment. So I feel that. I just never guessed that, but
sometimes we don't know we have these things in us.
Right.
That are like, oh, I was actually good at that. I had no idea. Okay. Do you think you'll write another one, or what's
you know, it's funny because I think about that. I'm like, is this going to be a one-hit wonder, or is there something else going on in there? I mean, I know that, we all have plenty to write about, and I know, you know, just what's happened in this past year since this came out with a couple of my daughters. It's like, wow, yeah, I could write a whole nother book right now. I was like thinking one day, I'm like, what would the title be? And just as a joke, because I was laughing, you know, about just some things that were happening, because I've learned to laugh at things that maybe aren't laughable, just because it takes that stress away from whatever's going on. It helps. But the title I was thinking about putting was, I Thought We Were Good.
Oh, that's
so,
that's
so, like,
good.
Who knows? Maybe we'll see.
Yeah, I shared with you earlier, my friend, that she lost her husband to ALS with 3 young boys. And it took her, I think you and I were talking about that, it took 3 years for that ship to kind of right itself till they could even be like, we're kind of at a new normal. Like,
yeah, the
trauma and just the readjustment period took her a really long time. And she's like, 3 years later, I can finally go, oh, okay, he's dead. We're moving forward. This is our new normal. That's kind of crazy. Now, the thing that I love all the guests that I've had on the show is, I told a friend of mine, she's like, what kind of guests do you want? I'm like, I want women that have seen some shit, that have been through some shit, that have come out the other side and gifted the world their journey. And I know that a nonprofit was started kind of in.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that? Because that's really neat.
So my oldest played volleyball for many years, started like when she was 5. And as she got older, my husband, who actually was a basketball player, he played for UNLV during he was a running rebel during the Tarkanian years. But we moved to the beach, and it turns out he likes volleyball, beach volleyball, even better. So him and my oldest started playing a lot of volleyball, and he had a group down at the 26th Street that he used to play with. And so after he passed, a couple came up and said, and it was only like 3 weeks after, and they said, so we want to throw a tournament and raise, college, some funds for the girls. And I was like, okay, that's awesome. What do we do? Because I've never done anything like this, and I'm not sure even where to start. So that was in 2014. I think it took about a month to plan, and we had so many people that they shut us down at Marine Street, and they're like, sorry, we're either going to shut you down, but you'll have to go to the Manhattan Beach Pier, north of the pier there. And we're like, okay, we'll do it. And I was so humbled by that volleyball tournament. I mean, there were AVP players, Sean Rosenthal, who was in the Olympics. I mean, all these people showed up. We had like 200 people play the very first year. And, raising heart awareness. The first year actually was just for the funds for the girls. And as we went to the next year, people were like, you're going to do it again? And I'm like, well, I want to, but I feel like I should do something more. And I had gotten in touch with someone at Little Company of Mary who was helping me out, and Andrew Wirtz. And he got me in touch with American Heart Association. And so all of a sudden we're like, okay, once again, it started very organically, and it kind of bloomed into this thing where now we just had our 6th year, and it's called the 4D4s because it was 4 daughters, 4s. You have to have a group of 4s, and you have to have at least one woman per team. We've got competitive, we've got fun, and then we've got 14U. And not only do the proceeds, half of them go to these subsidized heart screenings right here in Manhattan Beach that no one even knew. These screenings are absolutely amazing. What you get in there for $250, it's worth about $2,000 to get these screenings done. And so now, not only did we spread awareness, here, but then we subsidize them for the people who can't afford them. And then the girls also, part of it would go to their 529. So it's been amazing every year. I'm humbled by the turnout, and it's now people are like, oh, the 44s, you guys got your team yet? So it's become quite a thing. So it's cool.
I want to come.
Yes, it's in October. It's always the second Saturday in October, always after the hometown fair in Manhattan Beach.
Okay, so everybody, October 2nd weekend, 44 tournament. 4D4s.
And it's all, there's a website for it. We also do a blog. We've been interviewing people's stories who've had the heart screenings or who've had something happen in their life. And it's like, just go get it. It's simple. Because this sucks. So why not? Yeah, it's going to take a couple hours out of your day, and you got to kind of plan for it. But
better than the alternative. Well, Kori, I have to say from the bottom of my heart, you've been one of my favorite guests, and I'm so sorry about your husband.
Thank you.
But like most amazing women, you kind of flipped it and made something amazing out of it. So. Bless you and your beautiful girls.
Thank you so much. And this was really nice. I mean, I'm honored to be on here talking to you. So thank you just as much. I appreciate it.
You're a gift to me. Are you kidding? I thank you for your time. And
of course.
I'm so excited. So the book is called Paddle Out. I always feel like I'm a newscaster. So guys.
I'll put it up one more time. There you go.
Right? Paddle Out. I would like to get myself a copy of that. So I will go to Amazon. Is that on Amazon? Can I get it on Amazon?
You can go, there's right on Amazon, just Paddle Out Kori Clausen, and it'll come right up. I'm sure I can get you one though. So
no, I will pay for mine. And then I'll bring it to you, make you sign it.
Okay.
It's
All right.
really, well, thank you so much, Kori. Happy
Thank
Friday.
you.
Glad that we wrapped the week with you. I mean,
Thank you so much.
Inspirational way to go into the weekend with your beautiful face and your great story. And just thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome. Take care.
Okay, love. Bye.